Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome back to the Sooner Intel Show. I'm your host, Jason Watkins, along with my co-hosts, Chris Griffin from the Horns Down podcast, and Mr. Mason, Chris Mason from Sooners 360. And Oklahoma is in the college football playoff, the number 8 seed, and will be hosting Alabama in the first round on December 19th. Gentlemen, how are we feeling about that?
I would just jump in and say, man, I feel great about the matchup. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Not only relying on what we saw a few weeks ago in the OU Bama matchup, but just kind of going down the stretch. Obviously, we have our woes, but they have theirs too. And fellas, again, you sit around on days like this and you think to yourself, you say, "Damn." Venables does like to watch a lot of football. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to sit there and diagnose what's going on with Bama right now and figure out what is the next game plan, what is the counter to their counters.
Two weeks is my
Two
only
weeks, two
edit.
weeks. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, leading up to it, you already knew that, hey, you're going to have these potential matchups, so you're watching film on everybody.
that's
It's
true. That's true.
self-assessment and all of that, but you got it on everything. So I would say those, again, 3 weeks pretty much to go and do what you need to do. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
Mr. Mason?
I mean, Ty Simpson looked punch drunk yesterday. He did not. He looked like UGA maybe took a little bit of the fight out of him, and that was as bad a game plan as I think I've seen Ryan Grubbs and DeBoer throw out there offensively. That was terrible. I don't know what they thought they were doing. So,
Negative
I,
one rushing yard on the game. I mean, honestly, I was surprised that they ended up in the field. I know that you probably should have expected them to take them out. They didn't. It was like a extra credit game, I guess. If you're Alabama coming into that being the number 1 seed in the SEC, but
yeah,
if
if you
they're gonna do it, you would have expected that if they were going to take some teams out, like they obviously the way that they were going about it was they didn't have BYU in already, so losing like that, it hurt them. You already had Alabama in the field. I can understand why they didn't punish them, but I kind of would have understood why they did. I kind of understand why if they had, I would have understood why they did. I guess is the point I'm making.
Yeah, I think Jason, you're right on target. I mean, if you watch that game end to end and you watch the last couple of games Bama's played, it sort of looks like Oklahoma broke Alabama, and they haven't really, and they've been kind of discombobulated ever since they lost to us in Tuscaloosa a little bit. So I think definitely, yeah. I mean, I think they could have. I mean, they weren't going to drop. Bama's only still in the playoffs because of their brand name, right? If that had been South Carolina or like Missouri that had made their way through and then ended up getting blown out by UGA like that, I think they would have dropped. I think there's a good chance they would have dropped out of the playoffs. But Bama's brand name getting bounced from their perspective last year, I think made a difference. But my biggest
Right.
surprise twofold. One, I'm surprised they didn't rig it and just put Duke above James Madison in the final poll. And I'm a little surprised that I thought that they were going to do that, leave Bama at 10, leave Notre Dame at 9, and that's how they would have held out. Had held out Miami. I thought that was going to be they were going to give the ACC, okay, we're going to move Duke up, but we're not going to move Miami up. So you've got one. So you got a team in the playoffs. I thought they were going to kind of do that, just because no one wants to. I'm surprised the head to head. Every on the field reason says you should put Miami in over Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
But we all know Miami travels like shit. They're not a
No.
big brand name. They don't, for this away home game, I don't think Miami's going to travel worth a crap to College Station. They're a bad fan base. They don't travel at all. They only show up for home games in Miami, and sometimes they don't even do that. So I could have seen a reason why, from a financial standpoint, someone would have pulled out a spreadsheet and says, Notre Dame's going to bring 20,000 people to College Station or Norman, and Miami's going to bring maybe 2K to College Station, And if they win that game, there's no guarantee they're going to travel for the quarterfinal game at a neutral site. Because again, the fan base just doesn't travel. This is not a passionate, big football fan base. They have a big name from the '90s and the early 2000s.
Miami.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they don't. I mean, you look at their home games when they're not playing anybody. Their fans don't show up. They're not. They're not a good traveling fan base, and this is a dollars industry, and they obviously don't. They don't. If you look at ratings, I bet their ratings versus Notre Dame is that's a wide. That's a blowout too. So I was a little surprised that the money and TV didn't kind of arrange things here a little bit, like because really, how many James Madison fans do we really expect to get a fly out to Oregon? I mean,
Yeah,
that's
definitely true.
I mean, that
Well, that's what surprises me is you got. I mean, they definitely had to put the two G5 G6 leagues in because of the fact that they weren't going to move Duke up.
yeah.
So
absolutely.
Virginia could have saved us from that.
Yes. Well, and the ACC
You know,
could have saved us from all of this with a sensible tiebreaker that included college football playoff rankings.
How stupid was that, right? How stupid was that? It was so crazy to me that you would have even,
Yeah.
like, to me, you got to disqualify those guys. If you've got 3 losses, there's no chance that already there's 3 losses or more. You can no longer be a part of these tiebreakers. Or whatever,
Yeah.
maybe 4. I don't care what the number is, but you got to do something if you're the ACC and not allow that.
And the
ACC,
the ACC champion lost to UConn, Illinois, and Tulane out of conference.
Yeah.
I honestly thought Virginia was going to get it done, and then I'm not sure if you watched the end of that game. I've never seen in overtime a roughing the passer penalty roll over to the opposing offense. Have you ever seen that?
No.
I'm like, why is Virginia on the 40? And I'm like, they carried the roughing the passer penalty over. I'm like, I'm not sure the refs that's actually what they should have done. And nothing surprises me about ref incompetence this year after the year we've seen with the SEC. Silly question I need to research. Do we have any idea who our refs will be for this game?
Oh, Lord. No, I don't.
I hope that they're not SEC. I mean, can anybody be worse than SEC refs this year? I guess it's possible. It's possible.
They're bad all over the country, but nobody's worse than the SEC refs, I don't think.
The ACC at least has a process to fix their crap and at least transparent about it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but overall, I mean, I think OU. If you're in your mind, if in your mind's eye, if you think OU has a chance to get their offense going a little bit, you love the fact that Ohio State and UGA are on the other side of the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
Because those are the two teams I think that have a material talent edge on OU. Not by much, but they do.
Yeah, I'd say not by much, and after watching that Big Ten game last night, I'm not worried about either one of those teams. I got to be honest with you.
No. And Jason, I mean, the whole
13,
thing
is 13-10. What are you fucking kidding me?
I was just gonna jump in and say, Jason, I mean, I agree with you. You know, we was talking offline last night. If we can find consistency on offense, move the ball, run the ball, score when we need to, however it needs to get done. If we can do that, we give ourselves a chance because that defense is going to travel. That defense is going to show up. Norman is going to be rocking December 19th. You know that you can smell blood with Bama. Bama is trying to smell blood on you, but Bama right now is all in,
They're covered in chum. They're covered in chum right now.
And to me, just kind of just a mini preview. I mean, they're coming in here, dude. I think this is a game where they try to screen the hell out of us. I mean, trying to get Ryan Williams active. It seems like people are starting to take away Bernard now,
Yeah.
and I think really what's happening with Alabama defense is playing well enough to get you to the point where you can win the game. But I think what's happening is they're getting broken a bit. But I think on the other side of it, what's really happening is that, again, tackles. Their tackles are getting beat off a lot. They're getting there's a lot of edge pressure, a lot of pressure getting to Ty Simpson. That offensive line has seemingly regressed over these last couple of weeks. So no, I mean it's all about consistency. And just to Jason's point, OU can't beat OU. It can't be a game where we go out there against LSU and have turnovers, this and that. It's got to be a clean game. If you want to ride the defense, then you got to reward the defense with points when you can get them, and then also no turnovers and hopefully some longer drives. I have high hopes. I think we'll come out there juiced. I think we'll come out there buzzed. Bama presents some unique disadvantages to us, but we present a lot of unique disadvantages to them as well. We've seen that before.
That's
Got
what
to
I was
go out there and play disciplined
things that
football. Yeah,
if you don't get home and if you don't turn them over, then it's going to be hard to score with them the way you've been playing offense.
yeah.
So I don't know. There's some definitely. I would agree that you have some advantages, but I would also say easy. You know what I mean? Because just in view of the fact, there's one of these things. I want to see. You didn't have a ton of turnovers against LSU. Now you were able to put some points on the board at the end. You turned the ball over a lot,
Yeah.
but you weren't getting sacks. If you're not getting pressure on him, I think that's the biggest key. But I agree. I think offensive line wise, they've been struggling.
Mhm.
They've got some time to get healthier, but they've definitely been struggling at that part. And if Ty Simpson doesn't play better than what he's been playing,
Mhm.
Oklahoma has a unique advantage in that.
And,
The
That
and
being
Bama's
said, you're still
special
gonna have to put
teams.
some offense up. You got to do it
Yeah.
because nobody's been playing as bad as John Mateer has.
the only thing that I would say, reason why I would kind of leave that LSU game alone is simply because they move the pocket for him a lot. They're trying to get him out there on bootlegs, Van Buren. They're trying to do a lot of different things so he doesn't have to just sit there in the pocket. Ty
Yeah.
Simpson and Alabama are going to play you straight up. We know he's going to sit in that pocket. He's going to step up in that pocket. But here's the interesting thing. Um, our Mason most likely will be back, and Jaden Jackson will be back. So you're going to get constant pressure because he's not going to be able to step up. What was one of the keys to the victory in that second half is whenever you took that away from him, he wasn't able to just step up. If he stepped up, he ended up either getting coverage sacks, turnovers, different things. When they blitzed him in the middle, they took away the ability for him to step up. He had to just sit where he was in that pocket and figure it out. Again, I think that defensively, you need to, like I was telling my aunt, you need to confuse him on the back end and light his ass up just like you did. I mean, at the end of the day, play
Here's
like
the
that.
other thing. Their defense has been playing really well.
Yeah.
It has been playing really well. I think the difference in that game, the biggest difference in that game was the turnovers for Alabama. Gunnar Stockton was clean. He was 20 to 26, I think it was. He didn't have a ton of yards, but he had 3 touchdowns. You know, they were getting to Ty Simpson. They weren't, they had the one interception, but then they also had, just a lot of failed drives. But you can't be you. And I think he only completed 50% something like that of his passes. So,
Yeah.
and they were minus in rushing yards.
And they hit him almost. I mean, even completed
A lot,
passes, he was getting.
a lot.
And Bama's got bad special teams. Georgia's pump block really set that. I mean,
That was
Georgia's
a big
first
thing
two
to
the
tell you.
Georgia's first two TDs were short yardage, short drives because they picked them off. And then they got the pump block, and that put them up 14-0. And that game was basically over at that point. It's like you're not doing anything. Terrible game plan from DeBoer to kind of pick the ball in the first couple of minutes. What are you doing? And I don't understand how they had the wrong tackles for the offense. There were two monster guys who were slow but huge. running back coach is not teaching their guys crap about pass blocking. Those guys, other than Cam Miller, are awful in that.
Road, Bama hasn't looked the greatest.
We lost K. Chris.
I'm here. Can you not?
What just happened?
We got an alert, but I think you're.
Yeah, it's showing him down there, but it's not there.
It's odd.
Let's see.
I'll leave.
Oh,
He's coming back. He's coming back. He's ducking out and coming back.
okay.
So yeah,
No.
I think K. Chris is exactly right. Is home away splits for Bama. I mean, they nearly lost to a South Carolina team OU handled easily.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, no, hey, just on my point, and that's what I was saying, Chris Mason. I was like, they've won some of those games, but they haven't looked the greatest away from Alabama. And on the road, again, if you go back to because Vandy was at there, and we talked about that. Turnovers and Pavia having a bad day and the lack of a consistent pass rush. But if you look at the Auburn game, you look at the South Carolina game, it just felt like, hey, they were doing all the things they needed to win the game until it came to that pass rush, actually getting to Ty Simpson and keeping it consistent. On some of those teams, don't get me wrong, they got guys as well. I just feel like we have more depth than a lot of those teams where we could just consistently keep it going with our rotations.
And have back our best third and long pass rusher.
Yeah.
We have them in third and long RMT. I mean, if you used RMT only in that, only on third and long, to try and ease him back in. I mean, he'll eat Proctor for lunch. I mean, it's like a big lunch. It's like more like a big dinner with that kid, but he'll eat him up.
Well,
it's like a Fogo buffet kind of thing.
I kind of want to wait and see before. I mean, I think Oklahoma can win that game for sure. I think that they've proven that over the last couple of years. I will say this: Alabama and Alabama's fan base is definitely sick and tired of losing to OU, and so you're going to see a motivated Crimson Tide football team coming in here that's playing really good defense and that has played really good offense throughout the year. Obviously, up until yesterday, I would say, but they were able to move the football on Oklahoma in Tuscaloosa. They put points on the board in Tuscaloosa. Their turnovers is what killed them. Any number of things don't happen in that game in Oklahoma's favor, they lose the game. I mean, any one of a bunch of things, right? So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm overly, confident in Oklahoma getting that done if you don't play better offense. Again, I think this is what it all boils down to in this whole bracket. I know we picked the bracket and everything. I'm not really feeling good about making picks right now today, just because I don't know. I think that watching the Big Ten last night, that's the best the Big Ten has to offer. I think it's garbage. I think it's absolute garbage. I don't like the quarterback for either one of those teams. I think Sayan is going to be good. I think that he's also a true freshman that has not really been tested until last night, really. 13-10. We're talking about 13-10, folks, in that game. And then I was on with those guys from Maze Madman. Oh, it was fun stuff. That was funny stuff till one guy shows up. But anyway, no, if OU beats Alabama again, someone will. Where's that at? Be in the hot seat. I think he might already be on the hot seat.
Yeah.
They played like damp ass against Georgia. I mean, they got physically beat up.
They did. It was not a good look for. I don't know what their game plan was about. I don't know it wasn't a good look for Kalen or Grubb. Yeah. I don't think it was a good look for him at all.
Again, and Jason, even going back to your points, I mean, let's be real on when who gives a shit that they're moving the ball on OU? I mean, and the whole thing is that I'm tired of people. Not saying you, Jason, but I'm tired of people trying to penalize this defense. Again, you can give up 300 fucking yards and still do what you need to do. I'm not going to penalize the defense or talk about the defense and or the offense for saying, "Hey, yeah, you capitalize on a short field." It's what you're supposed to do. They're going out there forcing this. OU is not just getting these as Easter eggs in their basket. They're going out there and forcing these teams to do that. And oh yeah, outside of two fucking bust plays, one where we're lined up, they have the same play and they catch us in that. I'll give them that one. But when you're talking about that and a couple other plays that you're just like, hey, that's kind of questionable. Like refs, I mean, what do y'all want them to do? That's not what they're supposed to do. They're obviously knowing what they're trying to do. They're trying to catch people trying to do this or whatever the case may be. They're not lined up. But then on the top of that, you have that one what was that one NFL play that they run, the little quarterback stumble and then they throw it right in. I mean, it's a couple of plays in that game where you sit there and you say like, hey, everybody had a problem with us running that one play against Auburn, but nobody's talking about those two fucking plays where I'm just like, that's 14 points right there that they had. And those were off of just two trying to gotcha plays, trick plays, different things like that. One of them, okay, I can see that. But the other one, I'm just like, they weren't necessarily moving the ball effectively like that. Things could have went south, but it didn't. I think that you got the stop that you need. I think you went out there and did what you needed to do. Thing is that it all boils down to what is Mateer doing? And I know we can go in circles about that, but
that's
what it all boils down to.
Yeah. And look, and that's how. Look, I mean, again, we're picking these games and all that stuff, and just and first, and these are fresh off the rack what we've seen over the weekend. So it's I think we should all reserve the right to make changes as we watch it go along. But I would just tell you that my opinion is Oklahoma absolutely is good enough to win this if they play clean football and average 20, 21. I mean, get out there, put 21 on the board, 24. Yeah. We talked about 24 being that magic number, I believe, for Oklahoma, no matter what. Yeah. I really think that that's their magic number at this point.
If OU,
because you're gonna probably force some turnovers. They've, as wild as we talked about how fluky it was that early in the year Oklahoma wasn't forcing a bunch of turnovers. There was a lot of times that they should have had a pick here. They should have had a fumble recovery there. There was a lot of little weird shit that wasn't happening. But now it's like they're just, salivating over everything because they can see where the pick is about to happen, or they're going to force pressure here. And one of the DBs is figuring it out. The DBs have gotten better week after week after week. Peyton Bowen is playing better than anybody in the country in the secondary, I think, right now. And then that D line being what it is. I still don't trust John Mateer at all, but the amount of time that you have to feel better and maybe figure out whatever you're going to do with, some different schemes that we haven't really shown, maybe you have a package here or there for Michael Hawkins. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm just telling you, whatever it is, you've got enough time you could build a damn new offense in 3 weeks. Yeah. You know what I mean? Based off of what they've done.
Healthier running backs helps a big deal, right?
That's probably the biggest thing. To me, that was a missing part of the game. But I will say this. I think that it has been more Mateer these last couple of games than it has been Arbuckle. I've seen Arbuckle go out there and call some things where I'm just like, shit, it's there. You just got to see it. You got to make the throw. You got to make the pass. I think Giovanni is starting to come on now. I think he's playing better. Can we get Keontez Lewis back? Will our running backs be healthy? Can we get Kennick involved a little bit more because he's the true safety valve out there outside of Satania? I know that we can cash in on explosive plays, but can we go out there and have some meaningful drives, even if it leads to 3? For me, I'm just going to be honest with you guys. If 23 was the magic number that we talked about this whole time. If you can get to 23, 24 points against anybody, and this is what I'm going to call it, guys, pure offense, natural offense, just scoring, right? Pure offense.
No, not pick six,
Not
whatever. I mean,
six, not
pick six
that bad.
may
If
actually
we
get
get
you there. It
if
might
we
get
get 24 points pure offense, you're going to win the game. I like
you.
our chances anywhere. Realistically, if I can get 17 points from this offense just on
Offense alone.
offense alone, I still feel pretty damn good about our chances because our defense is going to give us a chance to get on the field to, at the very least, go get three. And I think our three is going to be guaranteed. And that's something else. Watching some of these kickers last night, I was like,
No
holy.
kidding, man.
Yeah.
Sandell's is an advantage. I mean, because our special teams has also been setting us up, right? I mean, Alabama, again, that punt block was not exactly. It was not like Georgia did anything special. They just blocked the punt. I mean, it wasn't like Bama had some big breakdown. They just Georgia just outworked them on a special teams play, and we haven't. I'm not sure we blocked a punt this year. I think one's coming. Maybe we have. If I'm not, I don't recall one, but
Not a punt. Not a punt. We
yeah,
had quite a few on the
field goal side of
field
things.
goal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
like
I mean, it's a
three
special
or four.
teams.
Yeah.
Doug Deacon with 3 weeks on special teams, and take a look at that Georgia film. Okay, they've got punt block protection problems. Here's who and we've got athletes on our special teams on our punt unit. So I think that could be something. But I think Chris is right that we need if the running backs can be healthy, and in 2 weeks of self scouting, can you find we ran the ball with Blaylock against LSU with some good plays, right?
Yeah.
Go back to some of those things that were working. Gabe kind of identified those in the weed stuff. He's like, look at this run play. We should be doing more of this with Blaylock. Hopefully, X Rob will be back and be a little will be healthier. So, if you have those compliments, and then we just need a better material. The LSU game was both frustrating and encouraging, right? 311 yards. He made a lot of good throws, but he made two really bad picks. The one pick where it was a deflection. Okay, that happens with a guy with a lower arm trajectory. I can live with that. But it was the two other picks that were bad. If you can reduce that, and we can get some of the passing game we saw from him. Like, we tried to push it more against Missouri, right? And it didn't quite connect. And then we pushed it more against LSU, and we hit passes. We hit more passes. So
Right. Well, but you also had 3 turnovers that could have
no,
been.
no debate, no debate there. The turnovers have got to be.
There's got to be a middle ground there, because at least in that
Yes.
game against Mizzou, you hit that play, and that wasn't even down the field. The first one, Isaiah
No, it
Sategna, that was
wasn't.
just a mesh route,
No,
and
you're
he got
exactly
him
right.
on a combo route, I guess, but he got him on the over, just the short over route, and he was able to take it the distance because it was a good play. But yeah,
We need a
I
better
like
material.
seeing him go deep again. I want to see some of those quicker developing deep balls, because I still don't know that it's his hand is good enough to really be pinpoint on any of those. And don't throw it into over the middle into coverage. I don't think he's very good in the middle thirds in deep balls. You know what I mean? It's just not very good right there. So to me, I don't know. I'm
I
good
think
with whatever they come up with. I just want to see them run the football well, be committed to running the football,
yeah.
and then let's see what happens from there. It just be better, man. This is all there is. You don't have to be great. Just be better.
Now,
You know what I mean? 24 is not a lot to ask.
Jason, I'm gonna put this comment up right here because if was a fifth, we all be drunk. But this is the wild card. And put it up here real quick. Kirk the Jerk, he says if OU offense does start to click to just average about 1 touchdown per game, OU could
More.
be one of the
Yeah.
scariest teams in the playoffs when you factor in the elite defense, special teams, and kicker.
Sure.
That's all we're asking for. At the end of the day, I'm telling you, there's things to be really encouraged about because we've seen some of these things. Again, it's like this. Like I put it to my uncle the other day, like this right here. Think of it. You have 3/4 of the pie every time, right? You don't have the whole pie. You have 3/4. I see Mateer staying in the pocket. I see him stepping up in the pocket. I see him looking down the field. There's times where I see him going through the progressions. There's times where I see him throw interceptions. There's times where I see him leaving the pocket too early. There's never the whole pie there. There's always one thing that's missing, but you see the other things that you're like, oh, that's what we were talking about last week. That's what we were talking about last week. But I think one thing Mateer has to do, one, he has to see the field. That is, he got to do that. Two, know the personnel on the field. Giovanni Gibson, first off, is a 6'5" corner. Giovanni Gibson is not your back shoulder guy. That's Keontae's specialty. That's his thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other guy,
a little faster. He might have been a little. He'd have had some separation on that throw.
The guys there are hitch routes, some of these little short, skinny posts, different things like that, slants. That's what those guys are. Those are your big body receivers. When Keontae is back, you can do the back shoulder stuff. You can do things like that because you have that connection with him. Nobody else has shown you that, right? So it's the whole thing of just knowing your personnel when you're out there. All it boils down to is just not letting this opportunistic defense go out there and do anything. You know that right now, I'm just going to be honest with you, Jason. I know it's really early, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. They're not going to run the ball on us. Let's just be real.
I don't know anybody that's going to run the football on you.
It's going to come down to just, protecting that middle, lighting his ass up whenever we get a chance, and confusing him on the back end like we already did. We're going to be at home. Norman is going to be rocking. If you're going to be there, for sure be there. But fellas, if you don't mind, we've been on here and we talked about OU enough. I think we should talk about some other games, especially the elephant in the room. Miami, Notre Dame, whichever way y'all want to go, I'll give it to y'all.
I want to do so real quick before I do that.
Go ahead.
Let's do something else real quick. I just wanted to point out where these guys ended up. You can't spell citrus without UT, you know.
we beat 3 of the top 10 teams in the nation. Like I told my uncle this morning, the thing that pisses me off about Texas the most, it's not necessarily the crying. If they weren't crying so much, maybe I'd advocate for them. I'd be like, yeah, no, I got you. Y'all beat us straight up. We haven't scored. But what I get pissed off the most about, Jason, and I'll hand the mic to you, is a simple fact that here at the end of the season, now all of a sudden, Texas has played the toughest schedule in the country. What the fuck are we talking about?
I know. They're here's where I'm at on this too, and I'm so glad what we saw last night. I don't think Indiana's that damn good, but now I know that Ohio State really isn't either. Okay, don't give me this. Oh, we went on the road and played. We shouldn't have to play that game, but we put ourselves out there on the line to play great competition, and we lose by 7 to the number 1 team in the country ever. They're not that good. They're not that good. Now you get to shut up. Orange down, always.
Did you get a chance to see that video that I did on the
That was freaking great stuff. Yes. Well
look, like RG3 said, they didn't penalize you for scheduling Ohio State. They penalized you for losing to Ohio State.
And Florida.
As Andy Staples did their thing, and Ari did their thing there. Those guys are pretty good. He was like, Andy Staples just kept saying, "You lost to Billy Napier. You lost to Billy Napier." It was hysterical.
Yeah,
I mean, they're just.
It's not hard. It's not long division, folks. Don't lose to Florida.
And let's not pretend that they should have lost to Kentucky or Mississippi State.
They don't want to talk about any of those things.
I mean, let's not talk.
Argument when this goes on. That's what I'm saying. But now the argument is no good at all, because if you're going to argue that point about Ohio State being so good, I just found out that they're not. I think it was a pretender game last night. I'm serious. I don't think much of the Big Ten at all. I don't.
I would say this, and Benji, our Texas brethren in here again. Benji, look, I'd say this right here. Y'all beat us. Y'all beat Texas A&M. Y'all got Vanderbilt. Is there a case that y'all should have been in there? Yeah, but I think for me, what it all boils down to is simply this right here. Coming into off season was unbearable with you guys. We
Yeah.
had to listen to Archmania. We had to listen to all this different thing. I'm listening to Kieran and that whole crew on Twitter Spaces talking about they about to beat the breaks off of Ohio State. I see the Barstool Longhorn account putting out flyers with or posting pictures with Anthony Hill and Colin Simmons with the word murder on it, talking about Julian Sayin may not make it out of Columbus alive, out of this game alive. I've had to listen to the preseason #1 talk for the longest. I've had to listen to all this stuff. And don't get me wrong, Arch is playing really, really good football right now. But for y'all to sit here and continuously, oh, y'all are scared of us, y'all are this and that, it's just like, dude, shut the fuck up at some point.
Nobody's afraid of them.
Regardless, I would just say we had to listen to all that stuff. It didn't work out. You guys weren't a complete team to start the year. You guys finished pretty hot. I'll give you that. And on top of that, if there was a world for you guys to be in the playoffs, I'm all ears for it. I'm all here for it. But the whole thing is that the amount of whining and politicking that has happened, that has went into there, the best thing that Cristobal has done these last couple of weeks outside of winning is the remark that he made in response to Sark. I just don't know what to tell Texas fans right now. Like, your season wasn't a failure, but it felt like a failure because,
Not
again,
being easy.
off-season champs once again haven't done shit in the actual season. You guys have 2 good seasons back to back, and all of a sudden we're supposed to just believe Texas is this staple of college football when you guys just haven't been, and that's just the plain truth.
The India. By the way, this Indiana talk. You guys need to shut the fuck up too. I don't want to hear this shit. They didn't do it. They scored 13 points. What are we talking about? I don't want to hear it. I don't. I just said I don't believe in the Big Ten. Not even a little bit. I don't believe in Ohio State. I don't believe in Indiana either. Sorry, I don't. Neither one of them make the championship game. Neither one of them make the championship game.
This is the most parity. I think this field here is kind of even. This field of 12 right here is field of 10 in my opinion. I think JMU and
Tulane.
Tulane they have there's an early come to Jesus meeting, and we're probably playing 10-minute quarters in the fourth. Either way, I think that this is an even playing field for a lot of these teams. I think that once you have to start traveling for that second round game, it's kind of anybody's ball game. I mean, Bama's good enough to win it. Oklahoma is good enough to win it, but you have those cream of the crop teams that you're looking at right now on paper, and you're saying they have a chance to win it. I think that this is one of the most even killed playoff scenarios that we've seen. And to be honest with you, if there was anybody who's probably the #1 team in the nation, it has to be Georgia, in my opinion. I think Georgia's playing the best football out of anybody right
Georgia's
now.
playing the best football, no doubt about it. But I don't. Neither one of those teams are getting in, as far as I'm concerned. And maybe Oregon's better, and they just had a bad game against Indiana. Or maybe Oregon's not very good either. I don't know. We're gonna find out. They should blow out JMU, But who? Oh, let me pop that back up on the screen. They should blow out JMU, but I'm saying, like, who do they got other than that? I mean, I don't know. I just don't.
We want to go through our early reaction picks here,
Sure, we can.
and see where we view the bracket.
Sure.
All right. Well, since this was my silly idea, I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Since I'm forcing you guys to do this early. All right. So at the top of the bracket, obviously, I have Oregon clubbing poor James Madison to death in Autzen. I have OU winning a rematch in Norman. I think for the reasons we've laid out, plus as Chris, and the main reason, as Chris laid out, Alabama's a good 7 points to 10 points worse on the road. And we've already proved we could beat them in their place. Mm-hmm. And they're beat up, and their quarterback looks beat up. and it kind of looks like Brent broke him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going with OU. Then on the bottom half of the bracket, I guess I'm going with A&M over Miami. I'm not. That's not a real. That's the game of. That's the game I'm weakest on.
Yeah.
In
I
terms of,
think Miami can play with them, but it's a Cristobal factor. That's the craziness, right?
yeah, it's and yeah, it is. And Miami's defense is really their front four, and A&M's greatest strength is their senior offensive line, their veteran offensive line, right? That's why they've, for the most part, they've has gotten them past Ford's Reed's bad games and some of the other stuff, and they've been able to put up points because they have a senior offensive line. They got a veteran offensive line. So I'm going with A&M in that game, and then I even with the Kiffin controversy and the disruption, and who knows how Pete Golding will call a game from a strategy standpoint.
They put 50 on them earlier this year. They're
But I'm saying even factoring in all of these deficits that Ole Miss comes in with, right? They still handled these guys 45-10 last time. I don't see.
But then they got to deal with Georgia like right after that.
Well, that's what I got. So I got Ole Miss, A&M, Oregon, and OU making it to the quarterfinals. So we'll start at the bottom. The easiest game to me is UGA beating Ole Miss in a rematch. I don't think Ole Miss. Chambliss won't be on that. He was on a heater. He's not been playing that well since then. And Georgia seems to have raised their game since then. So, and I think the loss of Kiffin will show up in that quick week to week, in that quick turnaround time. Not having Kiffin and Golding.
That may be the one part of it, though. Yeah, that's the one thing that it would concern me a lot. That even in the Tulane game would concern me a bit because Charlie Weiss Jr. didn't call plays.
Yeah, and that's first time head coach going against Kirby Smart in a quarterfinal game. That's
the Tulane game. I mean, I think what's his name is going to be back.
The center.
No, the coach from Tulane is going to be the coach from the new Florida coach.
Yeah, Summerall will be the coach.
There for all this, and yet they got half their fucking coaching staff, literally half their coaching staff.
Yeah, it's messy. But I see.
But I think they win the game there no matter what, probably. But the Kirby Smart, they already couldn't beat them with Lane there. They're gonna get their ass kicked. Yeah, it's
I have Ohio State beating A&M. That's more of Marcel Reed. A&M kind of not being Elko. I mean, they didn't. Colin Klein. That's not a good combo with Colin Klein having to rebuild K-State and still trying to call plays. I don't like that situation for A&M when they run into Ohio State, who at least defensively looks good. I have Oregon beating Texas Tech. If that's based upon Oregon being healthy at skill position, Sadiq, DeCorian Moore, and all those guys, a healthier Oregon. I think that's a matchup. I don't think Texas Tech. I think defense is pretty good, but they haven't seen anybody like Oregon's total offensive talent.
Yeah, they haven't really played a great schedule. They're thumping their chest about how great they are and everything. But
and BYU gave that game away. I mean, they forced turnovers. They forced turnovers, but BYU. I don't think BYU's very good either. And then I'm gonna my homer pick of the week. I got OU in a rock fight over Indiana. Just pure ass, 13-10, Big Ten championship, rock fight. We block a field goal. Sandell hits like a 55-yarder. We win like 16-13, something like that. We drag him into the grime. We knock Mendoza around. It's a mucky, grimy game, and Sandell is carried off the field as our champion. And then in the semis, I've got OU versus Oregon. I'm going to go with Oregon there. I just think if Oregon is healthy and has all their personnel back, the speed they have at wide receiver and the skill they have at wide receiver and tight end, I think that's the only offense that even gives me if they're healthy, a little concerned.
Dante Moore's been really good all year, and then they've
They
got
can run the ball. They can run the ball.
yeah.
They've got good. They got elite talent, elite skill player guys, right? Like, okay, they've actually got some game breakers that can do something. So I have Oregon beating us in a very competitive game where they just make one more pass. Dante Moore, I think, is he's one of those QBs who can beat you. I think he can match up with our offense.
He throws the best ball in the country.
And they've got the pieces there. If the first two games our offense is moving better, I might tell you I'm changing that pick. But right now, I think there's just one too many touchdowns and field goals coming out of the Oregon offense for the OU offense to match against a pretty good Oregon defense. Other half of the bracket, I've got Ohio State versus UGA. I got UGA winning that game, and then I have UGA beating Oregon in the final to be national champions. Okay, Chris, you ready to go next?
So I'll just kind of jump to the quarterfinals because it was pretty much the same as yours. So the match would be Oregon versus Tech, OU versus Indiana, Ole Miss versus Georgia, and then I have ATM going down there. I mean, going and playing Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. I think the only difference that I had Chris Mason in this quarterfinals round was I have A&M beating Ohio State.
Okay.
I think Marcel Reed makes some plays, and I think he puts the team on his back, and he does what he needs to do. I think that defensively they will present they will present some different things to him, and especially when they decide to actually attack and go pressure Sane. I think that they'll be able to get. I'm not even necessarily sure if I'll say get home all the way, but I would say I think there'll be enough pressure there to mess him up. Last night, what we saw from Sane was, I'm going to stay in this pocket no matter what. No matter if there's a running lane to the left, if there's a running lane to the right, I'm going to stay in the pocket. And I just may take a coverage sack if the route is not there. If the guy is not obviously open, or there's not a good window for me to pass it into, no matter how accurate I am, that's what I saw from him last night. So with A&M, I think you're getting a motivated A&M team. I think they'll play really good defense, and it will be a battle. But I think I'd probably give it to them. I think that they will run a couple of different bodies at Jeremiah Smith and force Cornell Tate and Ennis and company to actually do what they need to do. This is kind of the beauty of the playoffs. Things get tighter, matchups get tighter, and
styles make fights.
Styles make fights. Last year, again, that's my only question about Oregon. What Oregon shows up this time? Are they actually prepared, or they go out there and get mollywopped by whoever they're playing again? Right, because Texas Tech will make life hell on them if they allow it. Right. I think outside of that, though, I have Georgia beating Ole Miss and playing A&M. I have Georgia winning that game. I'm gonna stay homer on it. I have OU beating Indiana, and I think that game. I'll be honest with you guys. I think that would be more like a 2013 game. I think that we would get the points. We would do what we need to do, and I think that watching Mendoza last night, I was like, oh, you like to leave the pocket. Oh,
permanently implanted in his ass, he would be in trouble.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing. And then with Oregon, I think that we would play. I think obviously I would say Oregon would beat Texas Tech. That's just me picking that right now. That's the one upset I could see in that quarterfinals is potentially Texas Tech, but I would pick Oregon at this point in time. Oregon against us, I think that would be an interesting matchup. They love that short game, lull you to sleep, try to hit you with one deep occasionally. Their run game is pretty good, but again, I don't really see too many teams running on us. I got us making it. I got us making the chip, but right now I'm not going to pick a winner. Obviously, y'all know who I'm trying to go with, but at the same time, I think there's a path for us to get there, and I think these first two games set up perfectly for us to figure things out because Indiana doesn't really make too many mistakes. The one thing I would say about Indiana with Mendoza, though, Mendoza's deep balls are like usually 95% of the time going to connect. He throws a hell of a deep ball. But you have to wonder, is this 3 to 4 weeks, is it going to be enough? Because we know those hamstrings can be very lingering, because his favorite wide receiver, or the best wide receiver actually, is out for a while. So, I say out for a while, but he pulled his hammy last night. So we'll have to see and monitor what that looks like when we get there. But that's where I'm at right now.
All right, Jason. All right, Jason, are you ready to give us just a tentative walkthrough how you think things will go?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the same as what you guys had in up to the quarterfinals, right? I don't think it's any different. I
You,
think
you like Miami? You like Miami over A&M though?
I do like Miami. I do like Miami over A&M. I think now listen, it's preface that was saying I don't like Mario Cristobal. Talent wise, I think they're as good as anybody though. I mean, when they play well, they're really good. Um, for instance, for all you Notre Dame loving fans, people that Notre Dame went to Pitt, beat the crap out of them, but Miami went up there and beat them by more, which surprised the hell out of me, to be honest with you. Uh, I don't think they, it's like you were talking about before, they don't usually travel very well. They don't like the cold, but they're not going to be in the cold during this thing. They'll be, obviously on the road to College Station. It's not very cold down there. And then, on the road. I think they win that game, but I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't.
It's
I
it's the
had,
it's the toss it's the toss up of the first round, right?
yeah,
As
yeah.
OU fans, it's the toss up of the first round, right?
Yeah, I think they get beat by Ohio State. But and I actually kind of thought I think that they could compete in that game. I'm just not. I don't really think much of this Big Ten group. I don't. I think that Oregon is better suited to win in this thing than either of the other Big Ten teams. Right? I just think they are. In fact, I think they're going to beat Texas Tech in round one. I think Texas Tech is not ready for this. They haven't been there before. They're going to walk into this is going to be in a situation that they're going to get their ass whipped. They're going to get their ass whipped. Have enough talent against that kind of football team.
Okay.
They're going to have a good defense too. And so, yeah, I think they're going to get their ass whipped. Oklahoma beats Indiana. I think you can, if Oklahoma can win the game against Alabama, I think you beat Indiana. So it probably ends there. I mean, I don't know. I think I had them going a little past that, but I'm not. It's all tentative for me anyway. I think it probably ends there. But if
Yeah, we
if
just
Oklahoma gets up
this is
against
just
Indiana,
yeah.
if Oklahoma gets up against Indiana, I think they beat them. I'm just not impressed, man. I'm not impressed. Um, Ole Miss, I obviously had Ole Miss getting beat at Georgia, so it'd be Georgia, Ohio State in the semifinal over there. I think Georgia blows them out. So you're looking at either, yeah. So I think it's probably semifinals. Could be OU, may not be OU. Oregon, I can see getting there, but I think Georgia wins the national championship right now as we're looking at it. I think they're the national champion. So
All right. Hey,
Tech is
before
good. Tech is good against Big 12 competition, guys. I don't give a shit about that. I just don't care.
before again before we jump off of here, let's go ahead and let's talk about it. Jason, what are your thoughts about the whole Miami Notre Dame thing? You're closest to that. Excuse me.
Just trying to get my ass in trouble. He's been yelling at me all week. It don't matter. Look, I can make an argument for either side of this. I was talking about this yesterday during the live stream. Yeah, I can make an argument for pretty much any of these teams on all of it. I could make an argument for why you would have left Alabama out. Could make an argument for why you would have kept BYU in. I could make either argument you want me to make. I think the most fundamental of anything that you can talk about with regards to, I think, let me just say this. I hate the selection process. I think the process is what's wrong here. Okay. I can make the argument for Notre Dame and I can make the argument for Miami, but I think the most basic, fundamental, end of story debate is this one right here. Miami beat their asses on the field. I don't care that it was back in week one. I would tell you that I think that Notre Dame is a better football team than Miami today. They still beat your ass on the field. You lost the game. You don't get to complain. I will say that. I will say that to coach. You don't get to complain. You lost to them. Do I think that Notre Dame's better than half of this field? I do. I do. I think that the G5 doesn't belong. I don't want to see the G5. And I think maybe this is one of the things that your Golden Dome, Golden Goose is having to sit this one out because of your G5 ridiculousness. Fix it. Fix the shit. Stop being nice to the group of five. Nobody fucking cares. But when it comes, and I don't care about, and you folks already know that I could give a shit about Notre Dame being in a conference either. I don't care about that. I don't care. They are able to sustain their own program because they make plenty of money outside of having to be in a conference. They can carry their self. They can carry their own water. They don't need the conference, Ohio State. They don't need it. USC, bunch of whiny bitches. I don't want to hear it. I don't care about that. I know a lot of people do not like Notre Dame, hate them, blah, 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 blah. Oh, cool. I think the one simple argument is, and it's the only one you can make, you lost to fucking Miami. Hush. That's it.
Jason, I would slightly disagree, respectfully disagree.
That's awesome. Go ahead. Yeah.
Simply because I've said it and I'll say it again. At the very least, join the ACC. I mean, I think, yeah, these conferences are a little bit too bloated or whatnot, but I think it gives you a chance to put your name in there because is there a possibility that Notre Dame runs through that ACC schedule? I mean, let's just be real, Jason. They already play an ACC schedule. They've been a part of the ACC once before. It's getting to a point where we understand that they can sustain themselves. So I was talking to my uncle about this early this morning on my way back home, and he made a point. He was like, I saw a comment on Twitter. Somebody said it was a Notre Dame fan. He was like, OU wishes they could sustain themselves as an independent like Notre Dame. It was just like, dude, these TV deals, all the rest of that stuff, you guys have had that since like the 70s, the 80s, whatever the case may be. That's why kids wanted to come play for you guys because everybody gets to see them on play on TV. Now, NBC is paying y'all a shit ton of money. And you just like, y'all have had this all along. Like it was Texas and everybody else who started going to get their own TV deals. Regardless, the point is here, right here. And then this is where I disagree with you. It's just simply this right here. I think that it's getting to the point now where I think conference championship games, that's another discussion, whether that matters or not. But I think you got to join a conference. I do. I think that you got to give yourself that chance if you're Notre Dame, because as we all know, one slip up, one hiccup, two hiccups, especially back in the day, and Notre Dame is done. That's the only vice. That's the only real vice of being an independent. Is one, basically, is that one slip up because of the schedule that you make and you create. And let's not act like outside of those first two games, that schedule is a gauntlet. If you slip up in any of those games, that could cost you your playoff hopes. Let's just be real. And I think that it's getting to the point now where if they were inside of a league, a conference, ACC at the very least, they're probably playing for the championship and giving themselves a 13th game, right, to go out there and validate all the reasons that the committee kept them in the polls. I mean, so high up in the playoff seeding beforehand.
So I got 2 points.
Go ahead.
First one. Next season, apparently, there's a memorandum of understanding signed last spring. Notre Dame is assured of a CFP berth if it is ranked in the top 12 starting next year. So if this scenario occurs next year, Notre Dame would be in and Miami would have been bumped because of a contractual obligation as part of the CFP process. The other point is I do think Notre Dame is getting to a point where they're hurting themselves from a scheduling standpoint. Obviously, the A&M and Miami games were the first and second games of the year, right? And I do think there's a legitimate part that Notre Dame's a much better football team than they were August 30th, right? But the problem they're running into is they're going to have to continually play these big matchups early. because they're not in a conference. So if they want to continue stacking a schedule that gets them the strength of schedule and the strength of record that they need to be in that mix, right? They have to play. They have to play early.
Unless they have to do it for the sake of getting access to the field, they're not going to do it. It's not a money thing, folks. They can give a fuck about the money.
No, but I think they're
last year off of making the playoff in the championship game.
Yeah, I'm just saying because USC's, we know Lincoln Riley will duck him if he can, right? And we know USC will run like the coward ass bastard that he is. So if you lose that game, Notre Dame's schedule's getting weaker and weaker. And they have to front load these 2 early games, which honestly, I think we can both agree, if those games are played in mid-November 1st or October 1st, I kind of think Notre Dame wins those 2 games. So I think this is the problem Notre Dame's facing, is that they have to keep front loading these games early because that's the only time teams where teams are available.
I think you're right. I think that they're going to find that the issue is becoming that you have to front load them because they're not going to play you in the regular season. I mean, obviously they're not. The only chance you have is if you could play rivalry week against one of the SEC schools. They're not going to do that when they're waiting, or the week before rivalry week when they
the cupcake week.
Cupcake week, yeah. But they're not going to do that because they like to use that for cupcakes, right?
Yeah, they're not going to.
Cupcake week's going away anyway because you're going to 9 games.
So and that 9-game thing reduces the windows even further.
Right.
So you've only got 3 weeks, week 1 through 3, to schedule a big time game, to get 1 or 2 big time games, because the rest of your schedule it's weak. I mean, it's just not very good. The years you're not getting.
You got to remember that they've made these schedules way the hell.
No, I know they made it way in advance, but right now, but if I'm Marcus Freeman, it's hey, look, I'd prefer to be playing my best games as October 1st, maybe at least one of them past October 1st. I don't mind if one of them's up front, right? I'll catch, and it's 50-50. You catch a team. And those 2 games were relative. The Notre Dame game was really close. I watched that. I didn't watch a lot of the Miami game because it looked like Miami I didn't understand what Notre Dame was doing offensively, not running, love, and I didn't understand what they were doing. But if you're Freeman, you're I got to have one of my premier games after October 1st when my team is humming a little bit. Because they ran into 2 relatively veteran squads. Both of those games were on the road, right? No. They played A&M at home.
A&M was at home.
At home, but
they kind of got screwed over by the SEC refs in that game too. There's a big asshole on that touchdown.
Yeah, I mean and then they basically their old quarterback lacrosse player Holder. So, but I'm just saying that's the Notre Dame problem I see, is that you are in risk of losing early games to a team who may have a matchup advantage with you that you could handle later. I mean, let's call it what it is. The only running game, I watched the Indiana-Ohio State game just like you did. I think I was probably a little more impressed with Indiana than you were, just because I think Ohio State at least has a lot of physical talent. They may not be playing great as a football team, but they've got a lot of dudes. I mean,
the only thing is that their depth isn't great.
Yeah, there isn't what they used to be. Isn't what they used to be. So Indiana played well, I thought.
Is what I was saying. The D-line.
Yeah. I mean, they've got 2 guys that OU really wanted. Caden McDonald and the Kenyatta Watson kid. Both guys that OU could have easily gotten. So I do think the only running game that scares me is Jeremiah Love and Price. Right? Those are the only running backs in this list that really scare me.
Well, Aeneas Williams' son plays for them, and when he plays, he looks really, really good.
Well, I mean, Notre Dame's loaded at running back. They've done a great job recruiting running back. They got a great running back coming in as a freshman guy from Texas, Javian Osborne, who OU really wanted. And
they do it all the time, and they always have really good lines too. So
and they have good lines. That's the one. If you ask me who's the running game that's, I mean, Does anybody in Indiana scare me from what I saw last night? No, not really. Does anybody at Bama scare me? No, not really. Does Oregon scare me? Their running backs scare me because of how
Yeah, they're good.
explosive.
They're good.
Explosive. They're good, but they're not like, hey,
They've got speed, though. They've got a lot of speed. If you get an opening, they can go. Yeah.
Oregon scares me like because of they seem like
they're a complete offense, right? They can do more.
They scare me like LSU scared me last year. Right? That as good as our secondary has gotten, they've got some guys, especially Sadiq at tight end, that
I like that kid a lot.
That so does the NFL. That just kind of scare me a little bit. But overall, I think that's the thing Notre Dame has to deal with, right? Is how do we get 2 to 3 legit top 25 games in case the ACC is garbage and USC falls off, or USC, nukes our rivalry, which I think we'd all hate to see from a college football tradition standpoint, but I don't think we doubt that Lincoln Riley would do it.
Oh, he doesn't want in. No, listen, he's been backing out of that game.
Yeah.
He's the reason that they're not going to play. And look, the right now they're showing it on their schedules. I think that was under the assumption that it was going to be done again. It has not been done yet. They have not refixed that deal. They're sitting there talking about what they're talking about doing is maybe they're talking about doing it on a neutral site, like in Mexico or something like that. And Notre Dame wants nothing to do with that.
Well, they shouldn't, right? They don't need that garbage. They need that. That's the area.
He knows that. That's why they said it. They know that.
Yeah, they're leveraging. They're trying to leverage, right? But I could see Lincoln, cutting off his nose in spite of his face and just walking from that game, because that's just him. But I think that's the problem Notre Dame has when the ACC games they get lined up when they're like this year where they're just crap, right? Notre Dame looks great, but they're not really proving anything to anybody else because we all know they're playing shitty ACC teams, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the problem, that they are only 2. They didn't have a big win. Their big win was USC, right? And then of course we kind of write that off because, power running game versus Lincoln Riley. That of course you're going to win. You know what I'm saying? They didn't get as much respect for the USC win just because, it's like, okay, we've seen this recipe. We know the ingredients. We know you're going to lose, right? We know USC versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame's going to run for 300 yards and win, so they didn't get as much credit for that. But that's the problem I see, is that I don't know how they get those other 2 top 25 kind of games from either the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC, maybe, or pick up another game, big game from the ACC. And if they pick him up, they're going to have to pick him up the first, because the ACC is moving to 9 games, right? As well, to try and solve this tiebreaker bullshit that they had this year because of the unbalanced schedules, which we saw a little bit in the SEC. I think Notre Dame's going to get pinched scheduling the field, as you said, and that's where push is going to come to shove at some point.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it's not the TV money. It's not being independent.
They don't care about the money. They don't care. Listen, Notre Dame will eventually, coach will sit here and yell at you saying they're never going to do it. They're never going to do it. They will do it if they have to do it.
Yeah, if they get pinched, record.
They will have nothing to do with money. It will have zero to do with money. It will have nothing to do with wanting to be, that they feel like they need to be in a conference. It'll be because they need to be able to schedule games that aren't just front loaded, because the only thing that happens is, like you said, you play these games. If you lose them like you did this year, they've won their last 10. Cool. They have a better record than a lot of the teams around the country that they're in consideration. I mean, obviously it was just between them and Miami, but you lost that game and now you're out because you couldn't put the rest of the schedule together the same way. Now they were able to play a top 25 Pitt. They're not top 25 anymore. I think that probably hurt them a little bit. There's a lot of little weird things, but yeah, I think.
I mean, they could have been pinched.
I'm not calling for them to join a conference at all whatsoever, unless they have to be able to be in But they were in last year. I think that more years than not, they're going to find a way to put them in the field. No matter what.
But this top 12 thing is going to put them in unless they. But I do think their scheduling, the way they schedule is a little bit in doubt, right? That it's a little bit. They're getting pinched with nine games for the ACC, SEC, Big Ten, and Big 12, right? They're getting pinched a little bit, and being able to have 3 or 4 really good matchups during the season. And that's coming back. If they had 2 legit wins over, like if they had like scheduled Vandy and beat Vandy, right? They might be in over that simple transition right there. If they had beat Vandy this year, they might be in the college football playoff over Miami. Because their strength of record and their strength of schedule would have been higher than Miami's. And that would have made the head-to-head less relevant. Because they basically, their strength of record and strength of schedule were the same as Miami's, basically. Like they were 13, 14, 44.
You really are an idiot. You really are an idiot. Talking about getting rid of all these non-con rivalry games? What's the matter with you?
Well,
Did somebody drop you on your head this morning?
Well, they did. I mean, obviously, the college football playoff dropped him on his head, so he's hurt.
Baby cry.
Bevo Bodyguard, you get to play. You get to hug the giant life-size Cheez-It. You get to sleep in a room full of Cheez-Its in the Cheez-It room at the Cheez-It Hotel. You're gonna have a great day. It's gonna be great. I mean, it's not hanging out with the giant Pop-Tarts and the toaster still, but I mean, it's nonetheless you're gonna hang out with the supersized Cheez-It. It's what every college football team drives for in their season. And when they start in August, every college football team says, "I want to be in the Citrus Bowl with the giant human-sized Cheez-It."
What's the point in playing those? Because they're rivalries, which is what college football was built on, you jackass. What's the matter with you? Shut up.
I mean, OSU is...
But I will say this. Let me say this. I forgot to even bring this up about Notre Dame. Pulling out of bowls at all?
That's
weak sauce move.
Yeah.
Weak sauce
I mean, we know Love wouldn't play, but you can't tell me your team doesn't need that bowl practice. You're a young squad, right? You don't need that bowl practice, and your kids, maybe with NIL, you don't need the bowl gifts any longer. Maybe $3,000 worth of free electronics doesn't mean anything to kids making $100,000 a year, but we'll see. But I think that's where Notre Dame is. It's the scheduling where I think they might be in a pinch in a year or two. Like, whoa, all of a sudden we're 10-2, but we haven't beaten anybody, and we're getting pushed back on the schedule. So.
Comment of the year right here. Comment of the show, the evening, the day, the week, the year. Bevo, everything you predicted went wrong. Shout out to Mars.
All of it.
I mean, what kind of a moron? All of it. What kind of a UT moron shows up when we're talking about us being in the playoffs and you're hanging out at the Cheez-It Hotel?
And then he comes in talking about all those top 10 teams. Yeah, but you don't. You still had 3 losses, and guess what? That OSU loss doesn't look quite as good, and like they're just the best team without a doubt. Because last week that's what we're hearing, right? We're hearing all last week that Ohio State is the clear favorite to win the Natty, and there's nobody close. I beg to differ.
They didn't look like a juggernaut Saturday night.
They don't look like shit to me.
Well, I think they're better than you think, but they're not as good.
The best player in the country, and him or Jeremiah Smith are the best player in the country. Aside from that, I didn't see much.
Indiana played them very well and played them much better than I thought. And that's an Indiana team that they manhandled last year. Completely manhandled last year. Indiana this year beat them. So. Liberty Metcalf, you are right. Cheez-Its are tasty, though. They are.
Liberty Bibberty. My man, Liberty Bibberty.
They are very tasty. So
I must agree. I may go get a box right now.
Yeah, so I'm sure UT will be on the cover. We need to find some Texas commemorative Cheez-It boxes.
I'll get high top on it.
We need to get some. We need to get some commemorative Citrus Bowl Cheez-Its for Bevo's bodyguard.
I'll tell Shelton. To see what he can do about that. See how he can make that happen for us.
All right, guys, we're going to be back Thursday. We're going to do a sort of a regular season wrap up. Talk a little bit more about Bama, but also talk about the positives from our very successful 10-2 season where we flipped the script. I mean, guys, last year we were 6-6, didn't have an offensive coordinator, and we're playing Navy in an Armed Forces Bowl, and we didn't have a quarterback. Our quarterback left. We did have a quarterback. Mike Hawkins played well that day. He did enough to win. But 12 months, man, what a freaking difference. I mean, to say go from 6-6 to 10-2, hosting a playoff game, compared to where we were, where I'm pretty sure we probably fired Brent several times last season on our post-game wrap-ups and all that. Or at least came very close.
And again, Jason and I have said this from the beginning of the season, and hopefully we're still saying it now, but it's good to see Brent smile again. And it's good to see him be in a position that that he should be in. He has all the tools to be a great head coach, to be a great this. He surrounded himself around with a great staff. And the whole thing is that this is what we envision it looking like. And last year, it was hard to get rid of him, especially with the fact, all the injuries, all the rest of the stuff. What a world of difference it makes. Having those uncomfortable conversations, figuring things out, knowing that you got a team. For better or for worse, I will say this right here. Mateer has been a blessing in disguise or at least just he's been better than what we had. He's been better than what we had.
I don't know about that.
Oh, he's better than Jackson.
If you want to go back to Jackson, then you could do that.
You saw what I just put here. Next stop, Rice. Food. Next stop, food.
I just really happy with this season how it went, but we'll talk about that on Thursday, people.
Yeah, we'll have some categories and stuff, and we'll do some picks and things like that. So,
are you guys doing a recruiting show tomorrow?
We have to. We just got another commitment.
Yeah.
There we go, right there.
2027 is flying out the door.
8 p.m. tomorrow, people. 8 p.m. Central. So definitely tap in because we'll have some more recruiting news to talk about. The 27 class is the class. We're now done with the 26 class. Chris Mason is. Do we need a? Yeah. We'll talk offline. Yes. I just want to know who's all gonna be here for those. For hopefully, us going into January and be able to have some practices with some kids.
Yep.
Right on. Yep.
All right. Bye, guys.
Cheez-Its for Texas and Boomer Sooner for us. Talk to y'all on
college football playoffs.